Here is the complete script for your AI voice. Over. Designed for a smooth, engaging, and retention-focused video of approximately 11 minutes. The title of the video is naturally integrated, and the channel name ***, the Fear Sermon ***, appears organically within the script. It begins as so many terrible things do, with something that seemed completely harmless, an old portrait hanging in a dusty corner of an estate sale in upstate New York. The frame was ornate but chipped, the canvas stained with age, and the painted face staring out from it was that of a woman with hollow cheeks and eyes the color of a winter storm. Nobody wanted it. It sat there for 3 full days, price tag dropping from $200 to just $15. And then a man named Elliot Briggs bought it, not because he loved art, but because he needed something to cover a hole in his wall. He had no idea that this ordinary, forgotten object would soon become the center of a nightmare, because here is the truth that most people learn too late: objects can hold energy. But this object was holding something else entirely. Welcome back to ***, the Fear Sermon ***. Before we go any further, if you are drawn to the dark and the unexplained, if you like stories that make you check your locks twice, then please hit that like button and subscribe right now. Because what you are about to hear is not a ghost story. It is a documented case file, and the title of our session today. It was just an old portrait, but experts were perplexed after closer analysis. Stay with me, because once you hear what they found, you will never look at an old painting the same way again. Elliot hung the portrait in his living room, right across from his favorite armchair. He thought it added character. The woman in the painting appeared to be from the late 1800s, dressed in a high-collared black dress with a single brooch at her throat. Her expression was neutral, neither smiling nor frowning, just watching. For the first week, nothing happened. Elliot would come home from his job at a hardware store, make coffee, and sit in his chair scrolling through his phone. He didn't even really look at the portrait, but then on the 8th night something changed. He was half asleep in the chair around 2:00 a.m. and he felt it. A cold draft in July. His eyes opened and he found himself staring directly at the painting, and for a split second he could have sworn the woman's head was tilted. Just slightly to the left. He blinked. The head was straight again. He told himself it was exhaustion, that his eyes were playing tricks. But the next morning, he woke up on the couch with claw marks on his forearm, 3 long, parallel scratches. They burned like paper cuts. He had no memory of getting them. That was the first sign of infestation. And I use that word carefully, infestation, because what Elliot was dealing with wasn't just a haunting. It was a targeted, intelligent attachment. He called a friend who knew about antiques, a woman named Dr. Mira Vance, who taught art history at a local college. She came over out of curiosity, and the moment she walked into that living room, she stopped breathing. She said later that the air in front of the painting was physically colder than the rest of the room. She pulled out a magnifying glass and began to examine the portrait up close. That is when the second thing happened. The brooch at the woman's throat, she noticed it was not painted the same way as the rest of the piece. The brushstrokes were different, rougher, almost aggressive, and when she looked closer, she realized the brooch was not jewelry at all. It was a symbol, an old one, something she had only seen in a textbook about folk magic from the Appalachian Mountains. That night, Dr. Vance took high-resolution photographs of the portrait and sent them to 3 colleagues, a forensic art analyst, a historian of occult iconography, and a materials scientist. She wanted to know what kind of paint was used, what the symbol meant, and most importantly, who the woman was. The answers came back over the next 72 hours, and every single one of them was wrong. The materials scientist found that the dark paint in the woman's eyes was not standard 19th century pigment. It was bone black, but not animal bone, human bone. Microscopic analysis confirmed traces of collagen consistent with cremated human remains mixed into the paint. Someone had painted
sweet.
those eyes using the ashes of a dead person. The historian identified the brooch symbol as a binding sigil, used in certain traditions to trap a
This is what my
spirit
channel looks
inside
like.
an
This
object.
crap we gotta
And the
do.
forensic art analyst dropped the bomb that broke everything open. The woman in the portrait did not exist. There were no records of anyone with that face born in that era. Her bone structure, the proportions of her skull,
Record it.
even the way her hands were folded, they were physically impossible for a living person. It was as if someone had painted a face from memory, but not a human memory, a memory of something else. This is the part of the story that makes even skeptics go quiet. Because once the analysis was complete, Dr.
Sweet.
Vance did exactly what she should not have done. She confronted Elliot and told him everything. And Elliot, instead of destroying the painting or getting rid of it, became obsessed. He started sleeping in front of it. He stopped going to work. Neighbors reported hearing him talking to someone late at night. When the landlord did a wellness check, Elliot was sitting in his armchair, staring at the portrait, whispering the same phrase over and over. "She told me the truth. She told me the truth." The landlord looked at the painting and saw something that made him call the police. The woman's eyes were wet, as if she had been crying, but the canvas was completely dry to the touch. Police officers arrived, and one of them, a veteran of 20 years, later said that the moment he stepped into that apartment, he felt something pressing down on his chest. Like a weight, like disapproval. They removed Elliot for a psychiatric evaluation, and the painting was taken to a storage facility as evidence. But the case was not closed, because overnight, the security cameras at the facility captured something that has never been fully explained. At 3:17 a.m., the portrait began to change, not physically, but the woman's expression shifted. The neutral face became a snarl. And then, for 17 seconds, her mouth opened. No sound came out, but the thermal camera registered a sudden drop in temperature directly in front of the canvas. -12 degrees in a sealed room. Now, you might be asking yourself, why am I telling you this on ***, the fear sermon ***? Why does this matter? Because the experts who analyzed that portrait came to a terrifying conclusion. The bone black paint, the binding sigil, the impossible face. This was not a random haunting. This was a deliberate creation. Someone, sometime in the late 1880s, had painted this portrait with the specific intention of trapping a non-human entity. They had used human ash to give it a window into our world, and that entity was not a ghost of a dead person. It was something older, something that had never been alive. The symbol on the brooch was not just a trap. It was a leash, and when Elliot bought that painting, he did not just bring home decor. He brought home a predator that had been waiting for over a century. And here is the part that did not make the local news. The portrait is missing now. After the storage facility incident, the painting was supposed to be transferred to a university research lab. But the transport van never arrived. The driver was found 2 days later, wandering a highway rest stop, wearing only one shoe and unable to remember his own name. He kept saying that a woman in black had asked him for directions, and then he smiled, not a normal smile. A wide ear-to-ear smile that the paramedics said did not look human. The portrait has never been recovered. So where is it now? That is the question that keeps experts awake at night. Could it be hanging in someone else's living room right now? Could it be at another estate sale, waiting for someone like Elliot to come along? Or worse, could it be watching you as you read this? Because here is the loophole no one talks about. The binding sigil on the brooch was designed to trap the entity inside the canvas. But it did not stop the entity from reaching out, from influencing, from whispering. Elliot was not possessed. He was seduced. The thing in that portrait told him secrets, convinced him that she was a victim, and by the time he realized the truth, he had already let her in. Not into his body, into his mind, and that is far harder to cleanse. I want you to pause for a second and think about your own home. Your own walls. Old objects passed down through family. That painting from your grandmother's attic. That mirror from a thrift store, that doll someone gave you as a gift, objects are silent witnesses. And sometimes they are not silent at all. You do not need to be afraid of every old thing, but you do need to be aware. Because the moment you feel a cold draft in a warm room, the moment you see something shift in your peripheral vision, the moment you wake up with scratches you cannot explain, you have a choice. You can ignore it like Elliot did at first, or you can pay attention. And if you are lucky, whatever is there will only be watching. But if you are unlucky, if you have brought home something like that portrait, then watching is just the first step. The next step is speaking, and the step after that, it is invitation. Here is what I want you to do if this story unsettles you. And I hope it does, because that means your instincts are working. Go look around your home right now. Look at the things you have brought inside. Think about where they came from, and if something feels wrong, do not rationalize it. Do not tell yourself you are being silly. Your gut has survived millions of years of evolution for a reason. Listen to it. And if you want to go deeper into cases like this, if you want to understand how to protect your space and your mind from attachments that are not human, then you need to do two things right now. First, drop a comment below. Tell me the strangest thing you have ever found in an old object. A piece of jewelry, a book, a piece of furniture. What did you feel when you touched it? I read every single comment, and the best ones become part of future sermons. Second, share this video with one person who needs to hear it, not someone who is already into the paranormal. Someone who thinks all of this is nonsense, because those are the people who walk into estate sales without a second thought. Those are the people who bring home a $15 portrait to cover a hole in the wall, and those are the people who never see it coming. This has been ***, the Fear Sermon ***. Remember, the darkness does not always knock. Sometimes it just hangs on your wall and waits. Stay vigilant, stay aware, and I will see you in the next one.